In chemistry, the term boundary means three, it's a closed three-dimensional surface used to separate from the surroundings from the system. We usually think of it in terms of a real physical surface, such as the interface between a solid and a liquid. In math, we often think of boundaries in geometric terms and geometric shapes. In school, we learn about the limits to this system. In real life, boundaries are sometimes placed upon us. There are rules and there are laws. Sometimes it's quite difficult to determine where these boundaries lie, and we don't know that we've crossed a line until someone informs us that we've done so. Sometimes we put up boundaries around us to protect ourselves. Other times we put up boundaries to prevent us from going where we should go. I would like to share with you some of the boundaries that I've experienced. So I grew up in Waterford, Ireland. My mom was an elementary school educator. She taught me for the second semester of fourth grade. She was on maternity leave for the first semester. My aunt was also an educator, and my great aunt came here to America in 1931 to teach also. My dad was a college professor and a freshman course leader. Everybody assumed that I was going to be a teacher and encouraged me to do so. They were putting me in a box. Hell no. The last thing I wanted to be was a teacher. I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30, and I didn't know any teachers that were millionaires by 30 or even by retirement. When I left high school, I had two choices. I could study languages or the sciences. My parents insisted that I study science, as they felt that it was easier to gain employment in that area. I did what I was told. My freshman year in college was interesting. I had studied a lot of science in high school, everything except biology. It was very verbose, and I didn't like it. And then there was a problem with the professor. You know, it's always the teacher's fault. He was my dad. To sit the final exam at the end of the year, you had to do well in your two midterm exams. I did not do well in my first exam. My friends believed that Dad was trying to make an example of me and show everybody how he could be fair and how hard you had to work. When I did better in my second exam, they said it was only because I needed to take the final exam. Needless to say, I took the final exam, passed, and moved on to chemistry forevermore. When I finally graduated, I went to work in the real world. I started making my millions. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry and manufacturing industries, and I've worked with multitudes of medications and household products. It was satisfying to try and develop standard operating procedures that the FDA would approve. However, after a period of time, I realized that I was not being paid the same salary as my peers. I was not happy with this. However, I did not have the skill set to ask for more. I decided to change direction. I decided that I wanted to help other people find their path in life, and I wanted to help them develop the skill set to ask for more. I went back to school and I became an educator. This time it was my choice. I started teaching in America in Pablo Casals School on the 1st of October. It's a middle school in 2003. Being an immigrant helps me to relate to my students. Some of them had never heard somebody speak like me before. They were not familiar with my accent or the terminology that I used. When I say press, I mean cabinet. The bin is a trash can. They said yo when they meant hello. My bad meant sorry. Pissed over here means angry. At home it means drunk. You can imagine the shock on my face when an 8th grader burst into my room telling me that they were pissed. At my present school, I have shared stories with my high school students about my life here. I have explained to them that the American government knows more about my movements than the Irish government. I have to keep track of where I go, when I go, how long I spend there. They don't ask me who I'm speaking to, but I have to keep details of all my movements. This has an impact on my immigration status. I have to be the perfect alien. I was afraid to make a mistake. There are times when this has been difficult. I was supposed to be bridesmaid at my best friend's wedding, and I wasn't able to go home because there was a delay in the visa process beyond my control. Another time, I wasn't able to go to a friend's funeral. These are challenging things and difficult to cope with at times. Because I shared this with the students, they were able to share stories from their lives with me. When we went on a school trip to a historic building, the student asked me to stand with her because she knew she was the one that was going to be pulled aside for a more extensive search. Another young man told me that every week on his way home from school, he was stopped and his bag was searched. It contained his basketball gear. We spoke about how sometimes judge us based on our appearance or on our accent. In chemistry, there are reactants and products. In life, there's choices and consequences. So, we cannot always control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to them. And it's important to pause before we let the reaction occur, because there can be very different outcomes. These conversations were learning experiences for all of us. When I graduated from my teaching course in Ireland, I realized that I have had support all my life. I have been very lucky. I've had good friends and good family support. Even times when I was bullied, I had some place to go and I had people to listen to me. I decided at that point I needed to become a little more independent. So when the job was offered in New York City to me, I decided that I could be like Frank Sinatra. If I could make it there, I could make it anywhere. And I did. Over time, I built my life here, but it wasn't without support. I have strong foundations here, and I've met good people. One of the people, Mr. Martin Olivieri, my assistant principal who just arrived late. Is one of those people. He encouraged me to apply to the Columbia University summer program for high school science teachers. He was really, really subtle. He put a poster on the lab door. He put a poster on my computer. He put a poster on my desk. And he put a poster on the fume hood. However, I wasn't eligible to apply because when I came over here, I had a work visa. And to apply to this program, you needed a green card. It took 7 years from my application to go through. Because of the delays, nothing to do with me. Eventually, when I got the green card, and when I overcame that obstacle, I applied to the program, and they recognized my talent, and I was accepted first time. There, I met another person who has had a huge impact on my life here and how I teach, Dr. Sam Silverstein, the guy in the middle. You might recognize Adam too. He's MFA. Dr. Sam Silverstein was never ever satisfied with an answer to a question that I had for him. He always wanted more. He wanted us to push ourselves, to push our students to become better scientists and more involved. We had to spark their innate curiosity. As a result, I continuously question what I'm doing and how my students are responding to it. Sometimes now they ask me questions and I will use that for next year's lesson. I teach children that like to succeed. I encourage them to develop questions and then seek answers. Sometimes they're disillusioned with the impact of climate change. However, I tell them about our past successes. With legislation, we changed how the aerosols that we use and how refrigerators are manufactured. And as a result, the hole in the ozone layer has gotten smaller. So we can push for more legislation. When I joined the High School of American Studies, the chemistry department was in its first year. I was the only chemistry teacher, and it was my second year in New York City. I didn't know people. Thankfully, I worked with Yvonne Fiorello, an experienced teacher with friends. So she spoke to the teachers at DeWitt Clinton and John F. Kennedy High School in the Bronx and sourced labs for me. I continued to build and create at my school. I introduced the AP chemistry curriculum to school and more recently, the AP environmental curriculum. With the support of the Math for America community, I had access to resources, labs, case studies, and information about school trips. Math for America has also helped me on a personal level. When I attended the Caveat in 2018 and Giselle spoke about her experiences, that helped me prepare and for what was ahead of me. 6 weeks later, my dad passed away. I wasn't the only one. Without the support of the colleagues and the people that I have met here, I couldn't have completed what I have completed. At my school, we work to empower our students. I have high expectations for them. I know that if they practice and work hard, they can succeed. When I told them about my experience and how I was going to speak tonight, they volunteered to listen to me practice. So they insisted that I practice every day after school, because if I make them do chemistry every day, I could practice this speech every day. Finally, after 16 years, I found a way to reduce the paperwork in my life. On November 22nd, I crossed a line. I am no longer an alien. Yesterday, I picked up my American passport. So am I there yet? I don't think so. But sometimes I marvel at how far I've come, and I'm excited for where I'm going. Thank you all so much.